that you're not making somebody who wants to inspire to be like you feel less than. We out here in these streets. So we were talking about famous people and how our attitudes. Let's talk about some attitudes and some etiquette for those, and not just when you're famous or when you're successful, but things that we can actually work on right now. My first personality trait, attitude, or whatever you want to call it, is humility. My God. Oh my God. You know what? Humble does not mean to just accept everything that comes your way and be like, oh my God, and then be like, oh, I'm grateful for everything. Humble to me has a sense of grace to it. You know what I want to always be like to me. Let's get the definition of humble, right? Let's look that up right now. Humble. Having or showing a modest or low, I can't even say that, or I can't even see it. Oh, having to show or a modest low estimate of one's own importance, right? So here's humility. It's having a modest sense of your own importance or your success. We were just talking about this, making sure that even though you've gotten a success, and you have this important, that you're not making somebody who wants to inspire to be like you feel less than. This is why I say it has a sense of grace. Other words are respectful or meekness. My God. Excuse me. Differentials. I don't like the word submissive, but some people tell you that's a good word. I don't like the word submissive because to me it's not a submissiveness, but it's like a respectful. It's a differential. It's a meekness. Like, you know what? I know I have the success, but I'm not going to act like I can't speak to you, or I'm not going to act like that you're beneath me. Humbleness. A lot of people don't display that. Matter of fact, there's people who are poor and don't have nothing that don't display this type of humbleness. But I've learned that being humble, I'm not saying taking crap. I'm not saying let somebody run over you, but being humble. I had this last job. I was working at Starbucks as a shift supervisor, and obviously I was one of the, if not the most thorough or probably the most put together supervisor at the time. And mind you, my other supervisors were great. I mean, they were amazing. But I have a lot of leadership experience. I have a lot of, I know how to deal with people wanting, and I was older than most of the supervisors. So I had a sense of responsibility and maturity to what I do. So a lot of times everything I did was smooth, and I was able to help out the other supervisors when they needed, set them up when they needed to take over after me, and just different things. I was able to run the store efficient enough where everybody felt comfortable when they knew I was working, right? So I knew this about me because people kept telling me this, like, wow, and then I was really thorough about keeping the restaurant clean, keeping things on point, doing things to policy. This is just how I was, and this is how I am in general. This is just me. I'm a very orderly person. There are certain things, I ain't gonna say everything in my life is orderly, but when things get out of order, I gotta start getting them in order, because they do tend to do that. But I was able to, even though people would tell me this, and I actually saw this and I knew this, I saw how even with my manager, I ran the store better than my manager. I was actually telling him how to do his job in a sense, so not even in a sense I was, like, just being honest. Like, he didn't like it, but I'm like, yo, that ain't what we're supposed to be doing, But I did that even when I was talking to him about what should and shouldn't be done. I did it with a humility. I did it with respectfulness, meekness. I wasn't all like, oh, you're doing a bad job. You needed it. I need to take over. I never did that. I never, ever put myself in a position, even though I knew that I can run the store better than my manager. I can actually probably be the DM, but that wasn't what I wanted to be. That's not what I was doing at the time. But I still was able to say, okay, even though I run this better than myself, and this, I guess, is where this gets to submissive. Now I can understand why it says submissive, but I put myself in a position to take the skills that I had to implement them in a way where it made a manager that wasn't doing very good look good. Also, when he would mess up on certain things, I was able to quickly come up with a solution so that my baristas and so that the service was not impacted negatively. This was the thing that I did constantly. Although I knew, man, my leadership skills are up here. Even though there's a point where I started getting targeted, and discriminated against by my management. And they were telling me, you're a bad leader. Couldn't tell me why I was a bad leader, but they just wanted to say it. You're a bad leader and you have this problem and you have it. I was like, so where does these problems come from? And how do you know that? Who's telling you this? Where you get your information from? They could, and they give me all that. And so I just say, it's okay. So I could, and then I would say, all right, what do you need me to do? And this is how I function, even though I knew they were lying about me. I knew that. I even got 3 write-ups that were blatant lies. I said, okay. I challenged them and I kept challenging them about it, but respectfully, but still in a way where I'm trying to uplift and empower. And for some reason, I believe that my manager was intimidated by that. So then one day I came in, I was fired. Obviously, it was ruled by the state of California unjust firing. So they didn't have a real reason to fire me, but we're in a no-call state, so they can just fire you just because here in California. And I think Texas is the only other no-call state that does that too. But even though I knew that I was up here when it came to leadership, I've taught leadership classes. I've been in leadership all my life since 16 years old that I can remember. I was able to take my leadership style and try to use that leadership, not to lift myself up because I was going to be lifted up anyway. My work ethic speaks for itself, but to empower those above me and around me and below me. That's humility. And when you become famous or when you become successful in the things that you do, that attitude is going to get you a long way. Yes, you're going to have some that is just not going to affect positively. It's going to be bad. But guess what? Because of what you do, you're going to reign. It was funny because I had just talked to an old manager of another store who knows me very well. And this manager was saying, wow, that store really fell off since it's gotten worse since I left. And I was like, wow, that's interesting how you can see that. But for some reason, management can't see that, because this I'm not going to get into many details because I still have something going on with that and I don't want to be messing up it. But I'm just using that example because this is how I display the humility. I think this is a trait that all of us need to work on. I've been working on it for years to make sure that no matter what level I am in, I want to stay in this humble, willing to teach and give and willing to converse and engage with people, even though I'm irritated with them. Because there's people I'll be straight up irritated with, but I'll be like, I'm gonna still engage with them. I'm still gonna talk with them because they're still people. There's still people that that enjoy what I do and that buy into what I do. I mean, some people DM me with some of the dumbest things, and I'll just be like, for real? Like, really? Come on. I still love you though, but come on. Like sometimes I get when I post new shows, people give me comments as if I'm just now doing this. I'm like, I've been doing this for a while now. Like sometimes, because I can be thrown off from the comments. I'm like, well, what do you mean? Well, I mean, what do you mean by this? Like, you see, I'm engaging, right? I just want to know what they mean by it because I was confused. I'd be confused sometimes. And then it's just, oh, because you're doing this. And I was like, but I've been doing that though. like, but it's okay. I understand. Thank you very much. But it just, I try to make sure that even in my funny, sarcastic way, I'm still respecting those who are soliciting to me. And here's one more trait that, an attitude that I really believe that people need to work on continuing having, is a positive optimism. Okay? Let's do optimism, because I want people to know what optimism means. Optimism. Optimistic. The word optimistic or optimistic or optimism. Hopeful and confident about the future. Woo! Do we not gotta be hopeful and confident about futures? Like, especially in a black community. Man, I ain't never in my life seen so many negative people not only tearing themselves down, but tearing the people down. Well, why are you doing that, man? Well, everybody's doing that, so why are you gonna do that? That ain't gonna do nothing. I'm like, bro, you know what I loved? I met Kev on stage. You know what? And I like Kev on stage, but I like him as a person. A very cool person. But what I mean, like, it's content. It's not for everybody. Actually, it's not even bad content. It's just it doesn't do anything for me, right? I think he's funny sometimes, and then sometimes it's like, okay. But what I love about him, he don't care about what nobody thinks. He don't care, because he knows what he's doing is reaching somebody. Just like Tyler Perry, don't care what nobody thinks. He's reaching somebody. Somebody's watching it. Even if a whole bunch of people over here don't watch him, there's some whole bunch of people over here who do. You know? And one thing he said that really stuck with me, and I have so much respect for this dude because of this. And he said, when we interviewed him, he said, Bridget had asked him, what is your best advice for upcoming artists? He said, do it anyway. And we were like, wait, what? He said, look, he said he wasn't doing nothing different than what anybody else was doing. He just did he did the same thing from his perspective. Because he said, somebody wants to hear it from you. Somebody wants to see it from you. This is, and that rings true, because if you think of how many people redo other people's songs, like how many people can do This Christmas? This Christmas will be a very special Christmas for me, yeah. I mean, there's so many renditions of that. I don't know how many people has remade that song. But the funny thing is, every time somebody makes that song, there's a bunch of people who buy it from that artist. So do it anyway, you know? So that was some good advice, because that speaks to your optimism, being positively optimistic, keeping a positive outlook on your optimism. See what I'm saying? You can be negative towards your future, negatively confident, knowing that something bad is gonna happen, or you can be positive with it. Like, this is gonna be good. This is gonna happen. Look, I know there's a lot of people doing podcasts, probably talking some of the same stuff that I'm talking, probably even talking it in a better sense, probably can articulate better than me, but I don't care. I like talking. Even when I don't say words right, or I don't finish my sentences, even when I make up words. That's a trait that I got from my mom. My mom will say Dorditas, and I found out Dorditas are actually some chips in Puerto Rico. Ain't that interesting? But anyways, they're not Doritos, they're Dorditas. They're so good though. But I thought that was a made up word, and I saw it because my mom used to say it all the time. But she used to call Latino people Dorditas. Sorry guys, that's switched it. Just funny. Well, you over there hanging out with Dorditas for? I'm like, mama, they're Latinos. But anyways, but keeping that positive optimism alive, because no matter what you're doing, somebody's gonna want to hear it. Now, I will say this: just because you don't start off good, I said this in my last podcast, like when I was talking about me and Bridget's story, how we started off. Like I was doing graphic design. You see the stuff that on my page, and you see the stuff on Speak Music Radio. You see what the Wiley Life looked like. I wasn't good at graphic design, but I started. I wasn't even good. I was in school for production, music production. I didn't know how to make sound good, but over the time that I've been doing it, I learned to become professional at sound editing, and I've done good. So start anyway. Just because you don't have certain things, just because you don't have this, start anyway. Do that thing that you're going to do, but you got to have that positive optimism behind it. I don't want to get too long-winded. Be back after this. If you like this video and more, make sure you're logging on to YouTube, the Wiley Life, also Speak Music Radio, also Cypher on the Block. All those platforms have different content on there. Obviously, Speak Music Radio is my radio station, which my Cypher on the Block is featured on. And there's other content there from BB Talks and a lot of different things. Interviews that we've done at Stellar Awards, as well as on the Wiley Life. It's all the content that I create, and Cypher on the Block is specifically this podcast. Make sure the whole podcast is in full. That's the only thing that's posted on there. All the clips are posted on the Wiley Life. So make sure you're subscribing, and pushing the notification bell, because I want to know that you make sure you're supporting. If you like everything I'm doing, support me by going to my Patreon account. That's The Wiley Life Patreon. The Wiley Life. Look that up. Become a Patreon. There's going to be some Patreon exclusive content that are going to be going. If you become a Patreon at certain levels, you will get gifts from my merch store. You can also support me that way. If you just want to go get some merch, you can support me that way. That's on teespring.com/stores/The Wiley Life. Make sure you follow me on all of my social medias. That's Chris Conscious on all social medias. That's The Wiley Life and Cypher on the Block. Please, please, please. And we out here in these streets.